If you're a parent or share a fridge with someone, Instacart is about to make grocery shopping so much easier. Because with family carts, you can share a cart with your partner and each add the items you want. Since between the two of you, odds are you'll both remember everything you need. And this way, you'll never have to eat milkless cereal again. So minimize the stress of the weekly shop with family carts. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply. For 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
How much is an hour of your time worth? Whether you're a realtor, lawyer, accountant, or even a content creator, Stamps.com gives you the ability to focus your time on what you do best, not on tedious mailing and shipping tasks. Print stamps, shipping labels, or certified mail forms in seconds. More than 4 million customers have relied on Stamps.com to make their lives easier. Go to Stamps.com/audio for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/audio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 92 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what is going on?
What's happening, man? 92.
92 episodes.
Getting close to 100.
Yeah, what are we going to do for the hundo?
Well,
We pulled something big out for the True Crime All the Time hundo.
it's going to be huge.
We're going to have to think of something big.
Going to do a giveaway.
I meant, like, what episode are we going to do?
Still going to do a giveaway.
What are we going to get? We're going to give away one of your flannels?
No, I'm going to give away...
We're going to auction off your old wooden slatted seat that you claim to have sit in for 2 years.
that would draw a big number.
It would if it was real. It's not.
It's real. It's right there.
It's not real. You're looking over at something that's not there.
The fact that you said I'm looking over, people know it's there.
You do. That's what's funny. Nobody can see you,
Yeah.
but to sell it to yourself,
Oh,
you have to look over as if something is
I don't
over
have to
there.
sell it. My ass remembers it.
Hey, what your ass remembers
Nobody's business.
is
but my
nobody's
own.
business but your asses, I guess.
Yeah, well,
That's why I refuse to buy a chair with memory foam for you, because I don't want those memories
I don't blame you.
of your behind sitting in that chair for 4 or 5 hours at a stretch as we record these episodes.
It'd be a beautiful thing, man.
It's a beautiful thing.
What could we? We're going to give away a 2-hour phone call with Mike Ferguson.
What would we talk about for 2 hours?
Well, they can break it up. They can call you 5 minutes for whatever.
Do that math.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, they get that. So it's up to them how they want to do it.
For 24 times.
Yeah. Either way, you keep a stopwatch. Once they hit, the maximum 120 minutes, it's over.
So we talk about you being in Mensa, we talk about your academic prowess, but you continue to throw out these problems for yourself
Yeah.
that you can't answer.
Well, I knew the answer.
You just didn't want to show everybody up.
I was waiting for you to see.
You let me take the
You
glory?
really knew the
Is that what you
answer.
were doing?
Well, I just wanted to see how fast you figure it out.
So you're feeling a little bit better. You
little bit
sound better, for sure.
As I cough, but
As
you edit
cough.
it out.
I will edit.
But I'm feeling a little better. As the night, as our day night wears longer, it gets worse. Morning time's always worse. Cold air definitely aggravates it,
Sure.
and it's cold out there right now.
It is cold. Last week was rough. You were coughing so much you couldn't hardly talk.
Yeah, I had a rough week last week. A lot of stuff going on. Plus, I was sick as man. I was rough, man. I could feel it in my lungs. It was so heavy, and medicine really wasn't doing anything at that point.
Kicked your butt, but
It
you're
did,
back
man.
and better than ever.
Yeah,
Almost.
Yeah, I did lose some weight on it though. I dropped 10 pounds from this thing.
Did you really?
You're just not hungry.
Right.
You just can't eat. You just don't feel like eating or drinking or anything.
Maybe I need to get bronchitis.
So
I could drop 10.
I dropped 10, man. So now I got to get it back on. It's too much.
All right, Gibbs, we got some shout outs. We have new Patreon supporters.
Awesome.
We had Cheyenne Dovell,
Thank you, Cheyenne Dovel.
Lawton Melmop,
Melbop.
which is a cool name.
It is a cool name.
I like Lawton.
I like Lawton, too.
It's a cool name.
You like D-Lawton.
D. Lawton.
Is that the pain med that they gave you when you have your kidney stones?
That's Dilaudid.
Oh, D-Lawted. Yeah,
Yeah.
You like D-Lawted, too.
I didn't get that, though.
Oh,
As soon as I walk into the hospital,
yeah.
because I know when I have a kidney stone.
Yeah,
I've
I
had
do
enough
too.
of
Yeah,
them.
there's no doubt about it.
As soon as I walk in, I just tell them, just hook me directly to morphine. It's the only thing that's going to work. I'm sure that does too. I've just always had morphine.
Yeah, I think that the cool thing, I mean, I'm only saying cool because there's nothing cool about having kidney stones, but I know every time I have a kidney stone, I walk into the ER, all I have to do is say kidney stone, and they take me right back.
Yeah.
They don't have you wait. They're like, come on. And they get you back and get
especially
you
if
hooked
you
up.
get somebody that's had kidney stones
Yeah.
as a health care provider and they've experienced it, they're like, yeah, let's go right away.
Yeah, they don't mess around. You know, every time they've got you back and got the IV in you and got you ready.
So speaking of kidney stones, we're recording early.
Yeah.
Because I have to be at the hospital at 6:30 in the morning so that they can do a little invasive procedure to go in and remove this bad boy.
Well, yeah, don't worry. The doctor has those magnifying glasses. He'll find it. He'll get it done.
You think they'll be able to take care of it?
Yeah. It's just funny, though, because it's been going
It's
on
not
for...
funny.
No, it's not funny.
It's
but
funny for you.
It's been going on for over a month now.
Oh, yeah, well over.
Yeah, you've been waiting for this appointment, so
Yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
I'm happy to get it done. So we had Catherine,
Just Catherine.
just Catherine, but that's enough.
Yes.
Annette Mead jumped out at our highest level.
Thanks, Annette.
Kathy Erfurth.
I don't know. I have fun with this name. Erfer.
You just can't say the TH.
Erfer. It's like bark, bark, roof, roof.
Are you really going to go there? Bark, bark, roof, roof.
I don't know. Sound like your little doggy.
Sarah Bedard,
Hey, Salah.
Aaron Scott,
Aaron?
Sam Marshall,
Like the Marshal?
like we are Marshall,
Or I'm the Marshal. I'm from the Wild Wild West. I'm the Marshal.
Ashley Neal,
Hey, Ashley.
Megan Carter jumped out at our highest level.
How do you know it's Megan? Maybe it's Megan spelled weird.
It could be, but I'm going Megan
Hey, Megan.
because you know what? I have the power.
You do. But if not, hey, Megan.
Autumn Olson,
Hey, Autumn.
Heather Kowalski,
I still like that. Kowalski. Michael Kowalski.
Viv Hapakoski.
Apakoski.
I'm not sure I got that, but that's what I'm going with.
What do you think she does for a living? Hapakoski. That'd be
I think she is an English professor. That's what I believe. At an Ivy League
Professor Hapakoski.
school. Yep.
Okay.
Jamie Greco.
Thanks, Jamie.
Barry Babb jumped out at our highest level.
B.B.
Carrie Huglin.
Good old Carrie.
And if we go back into the vault, Gibbs,
Yeah.
this week we selected Ricky Temple. Ricky's been with us a long time.
Thanks, Ricky.
We appreciate that long time support, and we appreciate the new supporters
There's a song
as well.
about Ricky. Oh, Ricky, you're so fine. Ricky, you blew my mind. Oh, Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah. Some people might say it's Mickey, but I think Ricky's probably saying it's Ricky, not Mickey.
You crack me up, man. I don't think that's how the song went anyway, even if you transposed Mickey into Ricky.
I don't know. Somebody look it up. Let us know.
The first part you had right. It's when you started doubling up the words.
Did I mess up somewhere?
I think you started to
think?
go downhill a little bit.
Okay.
Then we had some PayPal support too, Gibbs.
Okay.
We had Sarah Richmond,
Hey, Sarah.
Kate Massey,
Hey, thanks, Kate.
Jennifer Sharp,
Jennifer.
and Joelle Myers.
Joel, like Superman's father.
No, that's Jor-El.
Or Joel.
No, Joelle is a woman's
Have
name.
you watched the movie?
I have seen the movie.
Have you read
I've also
the
read the
magazines?
comics.
The comics?
They're not magazines.
I know, they're the comic
They're
books.
graphic novels.
Yeah.
I also watched The Big Bang Theory, so
So there you go.
I got all my bases covered.
Yeah, and Seinfeld, I mean, he loved Superman, and I'm sure he loved
He did.
Superman's father.
He did. So listen, before we get into this unsolved episode,
Yeah.
we've got a really good episode out on True Crime All the Time.
How good is it?
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's on Anthony Kirkland.
Who's that? Is that a well-known person?
It's not.
I didn't think so.
Shocker.
I know.
We went lesser known
Yeah.
this week, but it doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, he was a heinous murderer.
Tell me he wasn't from Ohio.
Of course he is.
Of
He's
course.
from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
did his killing in Cincinnati, about 45 minutes south of us.
Nearby.
Not far at all. But check that out. If you haven't listened to it already, definitely check that out. But are you ready to get into this episode of Unsolved?
Hey, did we have a Patreon winner?
Oh, yeah, we did. I'm glad you said something. We had a Patreon merch winner for October, and I'm late. I'm late getting it out. So congratulations to Michael. And he picked out something from the TCAT website. And
2-hour consultation call with you?
Yeah, 2-hour call.
Yeah.
To talk about Gibby's memory foam.
Or 24 5-minute conversations?
All right. Now are you ready to get into this Unsolved episode?
Now we're ready.
Okay. We're talking about Marcia Moore. And it looks like Marcia. But it's pronounced Marcia.
Looks like Marcia.
Marcia. And Marcia was an American writer, astrologer, yoga teacher. She had a lot going on back in the day.
She did.
She became somewhat famous back in the 60s through a very popular yoga book written by Jess Stearns called Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation.
Oh, yes. Reincarnation.
So we're going to get into some, I don't want to call it strange, but we're going to get into some eccentric things when we're talking about Marcia Moore.
Are you reincarnated? Do you ever feel like you lived a previous life?
Did you just say reincarnated?
Reincarnation?
I think you left the N out.
Did I?
Yeah. The I-N.
I don't think I did.
You said, are you reincarnated?
I just talk really fast.
No, you don't. Neither one of us do.
No. So do you think you ever were? Do you ever feel like you used to be this like
somebody else in a past
samurai fighter or this?
No.
Anything?
Mm-mm.
No. This old female teacher at some old school.
Why do I have to be a female teacher?
I don't know. I'm just mixing it up, man.
No, I don't feel like I've ever been anybody else.
Yeah.
I think there are people that do feel that way.
Oh, clearly. Yeah. Yeah, there's people.
And strongly.
Yeah.
Feel like they had a past life, that they were somebody else.
Or multiple past
or
lives.
multiples. And they get a feeling of who that person is.
Shirley MacLaine?
Yeah, she was kind of out there.
Yeah, she was pretty convinced that she had.
She was.
Yeah.
So Marcia is going to be, I don't know if she's Shirley MacLaine category, but she's going to be, and she was an advocate of some of the properties of the drug ketamine. Isn't that a horse tranquilizer?
Some people use it for that.
Oh, but you can use it for other things recreationally.
Well, illegally, but sure.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Illegally and allegedly.
Yeah.
But really, Marcia was a beautiful woman. She was described as having, Gibbs, like I guess what you'd call a gypsy personality.
Yeah.
Like very carefree.
Like, free flowing.
Just ready to go with the flow and move from this to that. But everyone around her was smitten. They were taken by her.
Yeah, one of those type of people that can just kind of walk in a room.
Take it over, magnetic personality.
Yeah, you're just like, she's cool.
She disappeared in 1979. Her remains were not found until 81. But even though they were, the cause and really the circumstances around her death remain to this day unknown.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So she was born Marcia Sheldon Moore in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
That's a nice area.
Yeah, Cambridge. You know, I've never been, so I'm saying, yeah, I have never been to Massachusetts. I've never been to New England.
But when I went to Harvard.
Well, yeah, you were up there.
It was a nice area.
It's one place I've always wanted to go is take a trip up the East Coast, up through New England.
Yeah.
I've never been to Philadelphia.
You want to get some lobster rolls, don't you?
I do. I saw that on a travel channel one time.
Yeah.
At like a little roadside wagon.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've wanted a lobster roll so bad. I've had lobster rolls.
Roll over to Maryland and get your crab legs.
But it's not the same. I don't like Maryland type crabs.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you like...
I like more like Alaskan king crab.
You like the different type of crab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've had those Maryland crabs. They're not my favorite. But I want a real Maine type lobster roll.
Just lost our Maryland.
Lost the whole Maryland audience.
Crab fisherman.
I used to go to this conference in Baltimore, and we'd stay right there on the where it's the war for the whatever you call it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I love that area. It's great. But just not a big fan of the Maryland
They buy you all that stuff, and you're like, didn't do anything
crab.
for me.
But I love seafood. I could eat seafood all the time.
Yeah, you are a big seafood eater.
Love it.
Yeah.
Shrimp, crab, lobster, fish, anything.
Muzzles.
You don't like fish, do you?
I'm not a big fish eater.
No, my wife made fish one time and Gibby powered through it. And then afterwards we came down the studio. He's like, you probably didn't know, but I'm not a huge fish fan.
Yeah, I let you know. I was like, And then one time she did that thing where she went and got Long John Silver.
Yep.
And I was eating it. It's like, this don't taste like chicken. And she said, it's not. It's fish.
You actually did like that pretty good.
I said, well, because it had that
It's got all that breading
on it, which...
It's about 70% breading
And the rest
30% fish.
And it's that white flaky fish, so, you can push through.
Unfortunately, Gibby has to push through on some of my wife's cooking. Some of it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Some of it's...
Your daughter does really good.
Yeah, my 13-year-old's actually a really good cook.
Tonight was a mystery.
Tonight, my wife cooked. And
it was good until the end, just because I don't know what that was.
And my wife probably doesn't either.
No.
That adds to the
thing.
mystery.
And everybody's like agreeing, like, yeah, there was something different towards the end.
There's something off.
But nobody knows what it was. And we're all like, well, okay, we're waiting to see what happens.
We're not sick yet. So getting back to Marcia, born in Massachusetts, 1928, the only daughter of Robert L. Moore. And, we're going to talk about some famous people. She had connections. Her father was the founder of the Sheraton hotel chain.
Impressive.
And her mother, Eleanor Turner Moore, was an artist, an illustrator, an esotericist.
Yes. Probably on the watch list.
Probably. Now, Marcia did have 3 brothers, Robert, or Robin Moore, as he went by, John Moore, and William Moore. But Robin Moore was famous in his own right. He was a writer and wrote the 1965 book, The Green Berets. And then in 69, he wrote The French Connection.
Both very popular books.
Very popular.
Turned into very popular movies.
Right. French Connection was what? Gene Hackman?
I think so. And The Green Berets was John Wayne.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah, two good books, 2 good movies.
So I guess the point, Gibbs, is she came from a pretty famous, pretty wealthy,
clearly educated.
Yeah, educated family. She had a lot going for her. In the game of life, she rolled a good number.
Yeah, that sure helps your odds of getting through a lot of things when you have, money. Money helps. Money doesn't do everything. It can't buy love.
It does open some doors,
but it
though.
sure helps.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, money sure helps take some burden off. And when you got connections like she does, that helps too. Especially if you're going to be a writer and you have a brother that's a writer.
Yeah.
Or if you have a famous dad or a famous mom that's an illustrator. Look, that whole arena, you're in the mix instead of on the outside, you're on the inside.
Now, in 1947, she married a man named Simons Roof, which is somewhat of a strange name, but he was an aspiring writer himself.
Well, yeah, he probably saw a good opportunity.
Hey, this might be a good family to marry into.
Yeah.
And in 1950, they moved from Cambridge to Concord, still in Massachusetts. They had 3 children together. Louisa came along in 1948, Christopher in 1951, and then Jonathan in 1953. But I said early on, Gibbs, she was kind of eccentric.
Yeah.
In 1955, the whole family packed up and they went on this extended trip to India. And in India, they studied Hinduism and some esoteric religions.
So when you got money like that, you can go on extended
Sure.
trips and study abroad and do. I always thought, the best schooling that you could get is if you and your kids could travel the world and live in different cultures and yet still have a tutor that comes around and teaches the kids just the basics. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could get a better education.
But most people can't do that. And why is that?
It's cost of money.
Because we don't have the money.
It's money.
To pack up the fam and hoof it to India.
Yeah.
To just hang out.
And most people wouldn't have the you know, that to be away from their extended family is rough on people, you know. But, you know, like I said, if you got money, you know, you can fly mom and dad out to you every now and then.
Now, so they studied over there. Then they came back to the U.S. in the fall of 57. So they were there for a couple of years.
Yeah. Wonder if they ate chilled monkey brains like Indiana Jones had to in that movie.
Indiana Jones?
The Last Temple or the
Temple of Doom?
One of those, yes. Remember? Chilled monkey brains.
I do remember, I think, more clearly than you do.
Yeah, it was pretty gross, man.
Do they eat that stuff in India?
I don't know. They did in the movie.
I know, in the movie.
Yeah. Would you eat it?
No.
You want to try it?
Why? Why would I do that?
I did know a sales guy that used to travel over there, and he was in one part of India, and he said that it was an exotic thing, and they would order
like an appetizer?
They would order like these baby birds, and it was an appetizer to eat them cooked. And if you didn't eat them, it was offensive to your guest. And he said it was the weirdest thing to have to do that.
Maybe this is why I don't travel. I don't want to offend people by not eating something I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
First of all, monkeys are way too close to us.
Well, I just don't really want a face on something.
No.
I don't want to look at the face and go.
Well, almost everything you eat has a face, though.
Not on it when you're eating it. Not exactly at that time.
Gosh.
You know, I don't want to see a little bird's face.
I mean, we've just lost like half of our audience.
We did. Come back. It's okay. We're done.
No more monkey talk.
Yeah.
So they're back in the United States. Marcia is going to college at Radcliffe.
Nice
which
college.
is a very, very good school.
Yeah.
Finished up in 1960. Her senior thesis was about astrology. It was titled Astrology Today, a Socio-Psychological Survey.
Okay. So that's dealing with the stars and the patterns and the polarity and all that other stuff.
Which I think, you know, wasn't that kind of big in the 60s and into the 70s?
Yeah, I think kind of made a little rebound not too long ago, too.
Oh, did it? Yeah, I must have missed that.
So, yeah, I'm sure you did.
But Marcia and her husband divorced in 1961. But she didn't stay single for long. Just the next year, she married a man named Louis Acker, but wouldn't be married to Acker all that long either.
No?
You know, they parted ways. She ended up marrying a man named Mark Douglas. They moved to Maine. And this is where, together, they got into publishing books on yoga.
Have you tried yoga?
I have tried it, and I will say it's much harder than it looks.
Can you put your leg over your head?
I cannot.
Yeah, neither can I. So there you go.
I don't know why I'd want to, but I'm not very flexible.
Yeah, I'm not a yoga
You couldn't tell it
person.
by looking at me, but...
No, I think people can tell looking at you. You're definitely not flexible. But, yeah, I'm not a yoga person. You know, I'm just not.
But I will say I've tried it with my wife. My wife does some yoga.
Yeah.
Much harder than it looks.
Oh, it looks... Yeah, I think... I've seen people come out from doing yoga, man, and they look like...
I mean, just holding some of the poses that don't look that hard,
Yeah.
you know, works a lot of muscles.
I mean, I would love to, if it would make me flexible and not have certain pains and
It probably would if you
make me live a lot longer.
if you really got into it.
But I have to, you know, find someone that has patience to deal with me and...
Nobody's got that amount of patience, man. All right, so writing books, publishing books on yoga... They started to get into these new agey type of books. And Marcia was going on the lecture circuit to promote the books. She was working as a yoga teacher. She worked as a astrological counselor.
What a job, man.
Helping people with their astrology. There's
No,
symbols
what
and
days are the right
signs
things to do certain things based on the stars, the moon,
and the
polarity,
alignment of different things.
Sure, yeah.
Sounds like you know a lot about astrology.
I can look up and find the Big Dipper.
She eventually developed her own approach to a reincarnation therapy, and she called it hypersentience. So again, we're getting, you know, whatever you want to call it, new age stuff, eccentric. Some of this stuff is, for me, a little bit out there. For other people, it might be right in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure, there's a good chunk of people are like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know exactly what this. But this is what's going to elevate her to her own fame. You know, a little higher level of fame and fortune, And just...
It's what she becomes known for.
Yeah, exactly. Sure she does.
And she began to actively promote this therapy that she called hypersentience. And apparently they even had a quarterly bulletin, Gibbs, that began in 1975.
So that's something. Fellowship for sure.
But then we get into ketamine, right? We touched on ketamine at the very beginning. And it was, towards the end of her relationship with Mark Douglas that she began to experiment with ketamine. So this is 1976 time frame.
Yeah, she's like 48 years old.
Yeah, she's 48 years old. She started taking the drug with some of her friends out in California, but she married again in the late 70s, a man by the name of Howard Sonny Altunian. This guy was a doctor. He was an anesthesiologist. And it was with Sonny that this experimentation with ketamine really took off. They started living kind of a reclusive lifestyle.
Yeah, they did.
They were heavy into, using this drug. So I guess now's a good time to talk about what ketamine is.
Yeah.
It's kind of, plays a big part in the story. And Gibbs, I always thought ketamine was a horse tranquilizer. I think you hear people joke about it, but technically it's not. It's not a tranquilizer. It is used in veterinary medicine as an anesthetic, but it's also used in humans too as a medication, mainly used for starting and maintaining anesthesia. We're talking about pain relief, sedation, but it can also induce a trance-like state. People can experience some memory loss. It's used sometimes for chronic pain. But I think it's important to talk about the difference, right?
Sure.
Between ketamine and animals and humans.
Right.
I'm being totally honest. I thought ketamine was something that was used for horses.
Yeah.
Which it is. I didn't know it was used in human anesthesia as well.
And I think it's interesting that, she marries an anesthesiologist. So, clearly he's familiar with the
drug for sure.
Drug for sure, yeah.
But she was already into it.
But she was.
So did she love this guy or did she marry him because she was so into this ketamine that she found herself an anesthesiologist? I don't know the answer to that, but then, you mentioned Special K. And Special K is a street drug.
Yeah.
And I think it's made from the animal version of ketamine. Horse, cat, I don't know.
Right.
That's what I got.
So, and this probably makes sense. It's cheaper, easier to probably get a hold of, if you can get it from a vet versus trying to get it through a pharmacy, through doctors and things like that. So I'm sure it's more accessible. And then I'm sure that they take that and grind it and mix it with some other things. And that's how they probably come up with Special K. But, you'd have to talk to somebody that really knows about Special K. I know the Special K cereal.
That's the only one you know.
Yes. But I do know that, ketamine, it can slow your heart down. It can mess with your breathing. You can have memory loss from it. A lot of times that you get that injection, it can last for almost a half an hour. So, there's all kind of effects that will have on your body. And but I know that a lot of times what they talk about is just the psychological reactions that you have while you're on the medicine. So to the point it talks like, some people trip out while they're on it.
Hallucinations.
I think people can be agitated on it, some confusion. So, I think it's probably a pretty dangerous medication to be on if you're not in a controlled environment.
Exactly.
So I don't know if it really should be a recreational drug to be taken.
No, I think anything that has to do with anesthesia should be very controlled. That's why you have what are called anesthesiologists that go to a lot of school.
That's why they make 500,000 plus
to figure out exactly the right dosages to give people.
Yeah.
So getting back to Marcia and Sonny. They marry, and they move to Washington, near Seattle. And she writes a book in 1978 called Journeys into the Bright World in conjunction with Sonny. And they really talk about they become big proponents of ketamine.
They do.
Talking about it in this book. And really what she's into is self-exploration, which is self-induced by taking drugs.
Yeah, I think they figured a way to take that whole yoga, enlightenment, the whole process, and by taking the right medication, drugs, got them to that higher level of state in their body, their spirit, their mind.
It even talked about having, like a dissociative experience, like almost out of body, right?
Well, and yeah, I can see that. I mean,
I guess if you have enough of the right drugs, you can probably get there.
Similar to back in the day with the people that did the LSD, experiments, how what they would say things would feel like.
Well, and speaking of LSD, she talked about LSD and said that, ketamine produced a better, clearer, and what her term was, more real trip than even LSD.
So that's a pretty important statement.
That's saying something.
Yeah, saying well. So she's tried LSD. She knew what the experience was, and to say that even what her magical dose was with ketamine got her to a clearer, higher state of mind. I mean, of course, that's how she perceives it. So,
but with anything, right? I think you can get hooked on just about anything these days, and it leads to excess. And it did with her, too.
Sure.
By early 1978, she was taking the drug ketamine every single day, probably multiple times a day. It said that she was only sleeping, Gibbs, about 3 hours a night.
So, I mean, that's probably not... Look...
You say probably. It's not healthy.
Well, I'll say there's people that don't sleep a lot. I don't sleep a lot. I might get 3 to 5 hours every night, and that's all I really get. But I'm not taking anything during the day or night either. That's just I just can't sleep. I don't fall asleep. I just sit there and stare at the ceiling, and then eventually I fall asleep, and that darn alarm goes off. I'm like, oh, now I got to.
You just going through vocabulary words in your head.
Yeah, I'm like, did I say that wrong? Did I say? Yeah. No. So I mean, there's a lot of nights I only get 3 hours, but. For sure, for her, it was related to the use of this drug, and I think that like you said, it was at that point it was excessive.
All right, so she's been taking this drug ketamine for a number of years, increasing her dosage. The use of the drug for her is becoming problematic. Her marriage starts to fall apart a little bit. She starts to distance herself from Sonny Altunian. And it's in the winter of 1979, Marcia is 50 years old, that she disappeared.
Yeah, she's gone.
That's what disappeared means.
Yeah, what? She's gone, man.
I'm just messing with
you. I'm not on Special K.
But it was Sonny, her husband, that reported her missing. Apparently after coming home from a movie around midnight on January 14th, 1979, he couldn't find her, didn't find any trace of her at the duplex where they lived in Seattle. So he calls the police, right? He's worried. Now, as you would expect, he's the first person that they question. Number one, he's the spouse.
He's the spouse. And there were some rumors that he might have been running around on her and that she wanted to leave him, which I think she did. I think that there was a lot of information out there about that she was.
She had
ready
told
to
her
move on.
friends that she was ready to get out, right?
Yeah.
And so you put those two things together.
Yeah. But she did make a strange comment to one of her friends that if anything ever happened to me, you might want to look at the good doctor. That's a strange thing to say. But if they said that to the police, of course the police are going to even put them on the radar at that point.
Well, right. We know the spouse is going to be looked at first anyway. But if you find out that he's been running around, then you find out that her friends are saying that she had told them she's looking to leave.
Right.
And then the kicker is that she allegedly told a friend, if anything ever happens to me, you look at my husband.
Yeah. And I think the police thought it was a little strange that he went to the movies by himself that night. So they asked him about that as well.
But he took a lie detector test, which apparently he passed. And then really, Gibbs, after that, the police didn't have anything. They couldn't find her. There really were no viable suspects that popped up on the radar in the first couple of years after her disappearance. And it would be 2 years later that her remains were found in the woods near her home, not that far from her home. Her skull was found first by an individual that was clearing some land for a construction project. And then, and this is kind of macabre, but other bones started to get discovered. Somebody found a leg bone. So this is the police theory. We said it was wintertime, and they believe that Marcia injected a large amount of ketamine, and at some point, she most likely became unconscious and died of hypothermia. But we have to talk about, okay, how or why was she outside?
So, there's a lot of ketamine users, habitual users that took similar doses to her. She was taking about 100 milligrams a day for 14 months. Of course, this time they said her dose that she took was much larger, but they don't tell you what the dose was. But the regular ketamine users would say when you take that level of dosage that you can barely walk, if at all, so it really immobilizes you. So either she took this stuff, inside, and then somebody did something with her, dragged her out, whatever, right? Or she went for a walk, took it somewhere, but wherever she took it is where she would have remained until either, if some people say it could have been suicide, could it have been that she took this and she couldn't move and eventually hypothermia stepped in and took over, or, was there foul play involved? Did somebody actually kidnap her and put the medicine in her, knowing that she had a history of this medication? So there's all kind of rabbit holes theories, but bottom line is if you take that much of ketamine from the, I don't want to call them experts, but the people that take it all the time, if they're telling you when you take that you're immobilized, it's going to be hard for somebody like her to be wandering around too long with that type of medicine in her.
Well, you and I talk a lot about victims, right, on both of our shows. There's usually a victim involved in true crime. So much easier to be victimized if you're taking a huge dose of a drug like ketamine, right? If it really does that stuff, and obviously you and I don't know, but we're going
to try later.
We are going to try it out later. No, but we're going by the research. If you're that far out of it, if you're immobilized after taking this drug, how much easier, Gibbs, is it for somebody that was looking to do you harm to accomplish that? Pretty damn easy.
Well, sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
If that's what happened. I mean, they would eventually identify her because they find the skull and they can get the jaw, which has the dental records, the dental, so they can match up the dental records and say, yeah, this is her. But all they have is a partial skull, right? So this is what they have. They don't, it's been separated from the body. That's what they got. They have some miscellaneous bones that come in, but it's not all together. So what happened? Well, there's some theories around that. I mean, like you said, her family, her brother was an author. She was an author. And then she had a friend that had her own theory, with her brother being a famous writer and her being a famous writer. And then her friend was the author, Anne Rule, and she was a big crime writer too, I believe, right? Oh, yeah. She was huge. Anne Rule was the one that worked with Bundy, alongside Bundy in the suicide prevention hotline place, and knew Bundy well, wrote a book about Bundy, and then she wrote tons of books, yeah.
So she stated at one point that she thought Marcia's skull, when it was found, had a hole in it, and she suspected that it was a bullet hole, but because they never had the full skull, the police could never confirm that. They didn't deny it. They didn't confirm it, but they're like, it could have been many things that hole could have caused that hole. It could have been because the fact it was out in the weather for 2 years.
Yeah, I think anytime something is exposed to the elements for that period of time, you got to wonder, right? What happened to it during that period?
I mean, so at this point, I mean, the cause of her death, I mean, still remains a mystery. However, there are some conflicting accounts out there regarding her disappearance and her death, and I think we're going to talk about a few of them.
Well, I think the first one to talk about, Gibbs, is that Sonny Altunian, who was her husband at the time, and at least one of her children have stated that they believe Marcia Moore completed suicide.
So they just figured probably, right, that she just took an overdose of the ketamine, walked outside, or took the medicine outside, because once you take it, you can't walk, and just found a spot where she felt at peace.
Knowing that she would die of hypothermia. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard me say completed. Did you hear me say the words completed suicide?
I did not.
I actually received a very interesting email from a listener.
Okay.
Whose son took his own life.
Okay.
And really kind of talked me through, and I never thought about it before, but what it means to use the word committed.
Yeah.
That's normally how you see it, right? In newspapers or on the news, that's what they say.
Yeah.
But she really opened my eyes to the fact that committed has this very negative connotation.
Yeah.
Right? It's like committed a crime.
Right.
And that's, so I guess what I took from it was that family members, survivors of people that have completed suicide.
Right.
That's the term that they feel is appropriate.
Appropriate, yeah.
Yeah. I had never heard that
you
before.
either completed or you attempted to complete.
Or you took your own life. I think that's acceptable too.
Yeah. Or if you attempt it, you don't say you attempted to commit suicide. You say you attempted to complete suicide then.
Yeah, we didn't get into that part. But
I would think that's probably right. Yeah.
I would assume that works out as well. But you and I haven't talked about it yet because I got the email a while ago. I just hadn't had a chance to talk to you about it. But I found it very interesting. It's like I would have never thought about that because you see it. It's ubiquitous, right? You see it in the news, whether it's print or on TV. Everybody uses that term.
Yeah.
But then you talk to somebody that, whose family member died and they really kind of she did. She opened my eyes.
They see it in a different light for sure. Yeah.
And now I do too. Sorry. I know I got us on kind of off track point there. So I think the second theory to talk about is that she died of natural causes.
She's out walking and something, heart attack, anything could happen.
Right.
She kicked over.
But, to that point, if you're taking the very high doses of ketamine that she was.
Probably not walking.
Boy, you're probably more apt to have a heart attack or something like that, I would think.
I would think so too. I think anytime you take any type of pain medicine and things like that, it could elevate your blood pressure. And
then, I think what people talk about, is as it relates to her body. And I think this can happen in any of the scenarios.
Sure.
Is that, and we've seen this a lot in cases that we do, when a body is out in the elements, it can be, picked at by animals.
Yeah, and in the area she was in, it was known to have a lot of wild dogs, coyotes that ran around in that area. So, you could, add some validation behind that, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that would help explain why they found body parts in different areas, right? They didn't find an intact skeleton because the parts had been moved.
Yeah, and another theory was, so one of her other kids said she had a lot of crazy lunatic type of type of fans out there, and maybe she just had one of these.
Let's say overzealous
fans.
Yeah,
did this to her.
That went too far. Got upset.
Yeah,
could be any number of things. Now, her brother, the famous writer, he had his own theory of what happened to his sister.
And he believed this. I mean, he truly believed this to the point that he went on a media campaign to try to get it out there.
But I think a lot of people, Gibbs, would look at it as being a little bit far-fetched, right? The theory centers around the fact that, his sister's death could have been the work of witches or, some type of cult that may have killed Marcia as part of one of their ceremonies. I mean, her brother Robin was quoted. He said that because of the parameters of her interests, she was constantly being threatened by occult groups and witches' covens. Because some people had speculated that Marcia herself was known as the highest priestess of a large cult. And he came out with this suggestion just a day after they identified Marcia using the dental records after they found her skull. He was also quoted as saying, "I don't for 1 minute believe that my sister died a natural death. And I think her demise was assisted perhaps by a cult, but we don't even know about. Marcia was targeted by these people on several occasions." He actually came out and said that Marcia told him back in 1977 that one of these, what he called witches' coven, was trying to kill her. And Robin said that the whole reason that this even got brought up was he was over in Rhodesia traveling in 1977 when he received a letter from a friend who was a doctor, and this guy was offering condolences about the death of his sister Marcia. So obviously he was shaken, disturbed by the letter. He immediately called his sister. She was alive, but this is when she told him that some type of an occult group was trying to scare her by sending the letter to her brother. He said that she didn't add any details of the plot to kill her, but she said that they would kill her one day. And remember, Gibbs, this guy is a noted author. This is not some, Joe Smith that nobody's ever heard of. This guy was pretty famous. And he really thought that, the fact that her head was separated lent some credibility to this theory. Because as he put it, there are cults that, behead animals as part of their ceremonies. And he went as far as, asking the coroner how the head had been separated. Had it been, neatly severed from the body? But the coroner couldn't say, because of the condition, and especially because, only a portion, the upper portion of the skull was found, there was no way to tell. And he thought he needed that information, right, to either prove or disprove his theory. So Gibbs, I don't think he subscribed to the theory of, wild animals scattering his sister's remains.
So no, I think he was convinced that they dismembered her body into pieces and then they dumped it in various locations to prevent any search planes from, spotting her remains.
Well, and they did do an air search about 3 weeks after she vanished. I don't, that doesn't lend any credibility to his theory. It's just, I guess, a tidbit to point out.
Yeah.
But that is why, they did have a hard time finding her, because
she wasn't all.
She wasn't intact.
Intact. Yeah. That makes it difficult.
So Marcia Moore had written a lot, during her life.
Sure. A lot of papers, a lot of research.
She wrote books and, like you said, papers. She had a collection of personal papers that she had written over the years. And her son, Christopher, donated all of these papers to the Concord Library in May of 2009. So apparently, Gibbs, you can go to the Concord Library and
read up,
see Marcia's personal papers, things that she wrote over the years. But this is such a strange story because you can go 100 different directions with the what ifs, the what could have happened.
Right.
And then you bring in, the fact that she was rumored to be affiliated in some way or another with the occult or with a cult, however you want to put it, it adds a different level to the story, right? If it's she's hooked on ketamine, she took it, went outside when she shouldn't have somehow, or took it outside to get a different experience, and once she took it, she couldn't do anything and she died of hypothermia. That's one thing.
Right.
But there's a big span, or, there's a lot of things that could have happened between that, which is a very simple version of the story.
Right.
Up to her brother's theory, which involves, a cult or members of the occult that, had something against her. There's probably, hundreds of things in between.
Make a better book.
Well, that would, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that it could have been. And like I said, being on that type of drug, it makes you, I don't want to use the word, an easy target. I don't know how else to say it. If somebody has it out for you and they know that you're a habitual ketamine user.
Oh, sure. All I have to do is know when you take it. If I'm close enough to you and I know when you take it, if I want to do harm to you, I can, right? Because you're basically
there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. I mean, and if I know you're a user and you're not using right then, if I can get my own, inject you with it, I can make it look like you did something to yourself that you never did. It's just tons of rabbit holes.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to go with this one. But that's it. That is it for the case of Marcia Moore.
Yes.
We got some voicemails, Gibbs.
Well, let's hear them.
Hey, yo, this is Willie from Boston. I got a joke for you guys. What do you call two mics walking down the road? Lost. I love you guys. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Stay safe. Keep your own time ticking. Adios.
So there's a couple of things that I got a kick out of about that. First of all, that laugh, it made me laugh.
Yeah, Willie got to laugh.
Yeah. So he starts out Boston.
Yeah.
By the end, he sounds like Texas.
Yeah.
Like he's in Texas. But it just so happens that we are in Massachusetts for a part of this story.
Yeah. I don't know. Adios, man.
Adios. He called it adios.
Adios.
Hi, I wanted you to go back to the Unsolved that you just recently put out with Betsy. If you go to 12 minutes and like 10 seconds in, you're describing how gutsy and smart and graduated with honors, and then Gibby is trying to fish for a compliment there on how they're similar, and you're like, yeah, you guys are very similar, except she's intelligent. And the tone in your voice is so hysterical. You guys are killing me. I have no idea if there was an edit at that point or if that was just a sincere comment, but it cracked me up. You guys are doing a great job. Love you guys. Bye.
See how you hurt me, man?
I know. But it's all for, it's not all. Some of it's for laughs.
You always, you got to hurt me, man.
What I will say is
Knock
this.
me down.
What I will say is this, Gibbs. As far as editing goes, as you cough, see, that would be something I would edit.
Yeah.
I won't do it right now to make a point.
Yeah, because I was good. I was trying to muffle the cough.
You moved sideways, but it'll still come through. As far as editing, we never add anything in.
No.
When it comes to editing, we only take out.
I hope so. I'm not here when you edit. I hope you're not adding anything in. I don't know.
No, I would never record something, think about a good comeback later.
And go back and
then
insert it.
Record it and put it in. We would never do that.
Yeah.
The only thing we ever take out is, when we mess up or, we say something that we know is dumb.
Yeah.
And it's not right.
Yeah.
We'll take something like that out. But no, I think that was, most of the stuff that we say is whatever comes into our head.
Yeah. Because I don't really listen.
No,
later because I'm
barely even here.
I'm living it right now. I don't go back and listen. Sometimes.
I thought you meant you don't listen to the. You meant you don't listen to the podcast later. I thought what you meant to say, which I was going to agree with, is you're not even listening right now to what I'm saying.
Listening. I hear you, man.
But we appreciate that voicemail.
Hey guys, it's Jenny Caniglia from Kansas City. I just wanted to let you guys know that I love you. I love the show. I got on late with the podcast, so I'm binge listening all the time. And as soon as I'm done with that, I'll start with the Unsolved in Criminology. Looking forward to that. I am Team Mike and Team Gibby. Without Mike, there would be no Gibby. So I think you guys go hand in hand. Love you both. You guys crack me up every single day. Love listening to you. You're my favorite. I emailed you about a couple guys from Kansas City. There's Bob Berdella. He's crazy. And Terry Blair. He's another one. I've never heard anybody talk about him. I honestly forgot about him myself, but I would love to hear your take on these guys. And just keep what you're doing. Keep entertaining us. You get me through work every single day. I clean houses. I'm in houses all by myself, and I just listen to you guys and freak out all the time. So it's awesome. So anyway, keep it up. Love you guys. Stay safe. Keep your own time ticking. Bye.
All right, love that voicemail. We love you too.
That makes sense. There's no Gibby without Mike. There's no yin without yang.
But you know what she didn't?
Peanut butter without jelly.
So she said there's no Gibby without Mike. What she didn't say is there's no Mike without Gibby.
Well, you know.
She didn't say that.
That's all right. I can handle that.
I don't know if it's implied or...
I think it's implied that, you know, you got your thing going on, man. That's all right. That's good. I am confident and comfortable with my position.
And you should be.
So
you should be.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Erica calling from Virginia. I was calling because I want to say that I love your guys' podcast. It's amazing. Mike, I know that you're going to find something because I was also recently laid off and I found something really quick. So I wish you all the luck. I also wanted to let you know that I haven't heard you guys do anything with Morgan Harrington and Hannah Graham in Charlottesville, who were both murdered by Jesse Matthews, and Morgan Harrington was unsolved for a number of years. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys that suggestion and tell you to keep up the great work and to keep your own time ticking. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Appreciate that voicemail. And I'm pretty sure Matthews is on the list, but I will check.
See, she got a job. She did it. Didn't take her any time.
Were you saying I can too?
Well, you'd first have to get out of the pajama pants, shave your face, and...
First of all, I still have a job. Technically.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Technically, I'm still working.
True. You got a while still. Not much, but you got a little bit.
About
still.
a month.
Yeah, about a month.
Actually, exactly.
I forget. Yeah, I think I have a meeting with you this week.
I know.
Yeah.
So technically...
Yeah, you're still employed. Sorry.
They just tell you 2 months ahead of time that you're going to be
you a little heads
displaced.
Up. Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Stacy from Layton, Utah, and I just wanted to absolutely love your podcast. I first came across you guys actually by listening to Criminology, the pretty amazing season about the Golden State Killer. That was my first introduction. And I found out about True Crime All the Time and True Crime All the Time Unsolved, and I've pretty much made my way through most of the episodes. But anyway, I just wanted to put some ideas in your heads about future episodes, and if it hasn't been requested already, to do an episode about Josh Powell. I know there have been a couple of guys in the past where you guys have gotten like super angry at the main villain murderer, and this guy is one of those guys that will make you super angry. So I'm interested to hear your take on that. There's another episode, too, that I would be interested in hearing. It's a lesser-known crime, I think, but it's called the Hi-Fi Shop Murders, and those occurred in the 70s in Ogden, Utah. So anyway, I just wanted to call and say I love this podcast. You guys do a great job. It's probably one of the best podcasts I've listened to, and the production value is fantastic. I love it. But anyway, hope you guys like those ideas and keep your own time ticking.
All right. Appreciate that voicemail. Actually, I think the Hi-Fi murders are pretty well known.
I think so.
I think they've been covered by some other podcasts. They're definitely on our list.
Yeah.
The other one I would have to, Josh Powell, I think is on the list, but I have to check.
Check it out.
So Gibbs, before we go, I want to announce we're taking next week off.
Yes.
No unsolved episode.
Have our normal TCAT out there, so listen to that.
Yeah, definitely have the regular TCAT, but we're taking next week off for unsolved. All right. Well, that is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.